So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We're going to be talking about one of the toughest questions actually that we are facing ourselves as founders and in business owners is the delegation. I have with me few of my colleagues here and in fellow panelists. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So I'm going to give you about a minute or a minute and a half to introduce yourself. And we can go straight to the discussion. I'm hoping as well is not only one straight-way communication from our side, but we're also helping a little bit from the audience with questions and also sharing insights and opinions and feedback. Gary?
All right, so I'm Gary Young, and I'm the founder and CEO of, I'm right there, Vela Global, also a sponsor. And we make products on behalf of our clients by the container with offices in Houston, Texas, Shanghai, China, Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and Mumbai, India. And we opened a new sales office here in Dubai this year. And so there's some growth and there's lots of stories and pain there, and we'll probably get into that.
Hello, I'm Matthew. I'm the founder of Driftline. What I do is consulting actually for companies on customer experience, user experience, but taking it to the communities. So thinking about how your product affects communities and the groups that they're being used inside of.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. So I'm Harish Chauhan. I run a advisory consulting firm for last 19 years. Total experience of 47 years in the IT industry, different verticals. So it'll be good to share and learn from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. From my perspective, my name is Rashid Maliki, and I'm the CEO and the founder of Infinity Prime. It's a boutique supply chain consultancy. What we do is actually help the CEOs and leaders of organization not to lose sleep over the anxiety of supply chain and transfer it more to a brand certainty. So, you know, when you think about the most important thing for companies is actually their promises to either their customers, their shareholders, or their employee. And our job in Infinity Prime is actually helping these guys to keep their promises to everyone that matters in their business. Prior to Infinity Prime, I had the luxury probably to work with a few of the largest organizations around the world. I was managing teams over 300, 400 people, so I think the word delegation means a lot for me. But I'm going to start with the first question to the panels here. I'm going to start probably with you, Gary. What is the best definition when it comes to your mind when we talk about delegation?
Well, I think it all starts inside. It all starts with having that communication with yourself and self-love. And if you love yourself and you have these great ideas, you're going to want to share them with other people, and you're going to want to make that a success. And I struggle with this a little bit because I'm the kind of person that lives too much inside my own self. And so I struggle kind of getting the ideas and getting the things out. So one of the things that I do to make that happen is I get help. So I belong to a CEO group called Vistage, and they're my board of directors. Nobody does this alone. And if you meet a founder that said they did it all by themselves, then they either are not telling you the truth or they're not going to be a founder for very long. So you've got to get out from inside yourself, start learning how to trust other people, and start getting good advice and getting feedback from places you just wouldn't expect, from different business owners in completely different environments from yours, because it'll give you a perspective that you don't have when you stay too close inside.
Matthew, anything from your side?
Yes, I would say there's actually two definitions of delegation. There's the good and the bad, right? If you've worked in the corporate world, there's always those people that make it to the top by just delegating work. You don't want to be on that side of the table. The other side is the delegation based on your vision as a founder, right? And I think the important thing is making sure that your vision is clear when you delegate, and you're also still doing the work and partnering with them. You're not delegating to just offload the work to your employees or your partners. You want to make sure that delegation is a partnership. So I would consider delegation in the good side to be more of how do you partner with people to get the work done versus just offloading work.
It's a very good perspective there, Matthew. I think what I would agree with you is definitely there is a big gap between what leaders think as a delegation and the way the employees is seen it in companies. And most of the time is purely a shift and assignment of tasks, where actually when you think about the true value in terms of the delegation is a whole shift of what I would call a decision-making authority. If it's not only about asking people to execute your vision, but having their own vision as well. And that's also very important from a talent retention point of view, because the high caliber people, if they don't have their own vision and they are not able to implement their own vision in the company, they will definitely leave the company. Anything from your side?
I can give you two examples of delegation of business function. One example is called RPO, recruitment process outsourcing. Very common in India. Large companies realized there is no point in spending time and energy in recruitment actually. So they outsource that service. So the whole responsibility of bringing in new employees got delegated to another organization. Similar delegation has happened in the cloud business. A lot of us used to manage IT infrastructure within the company. Now all that responsibility has been delegated to Amazon Cloud Services, Azure or whatever. So those are very, and I believe that a successful CEO has to delegate 90% of his responsibility to somebody, retain only 10%, so that he can maintain the bandwidth at the top level.
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit to that. You know, as CEOs and founders, we should be looking at our company from 30,000 feet. So our job is to delegate. And if you're not delegating, you're not doing your job. But I had a mentor that once told me, I think I said this in another panel, but he said, if you want to be successful and happy as a CEO, figure out what you do best, do those things, and get other people to do the other things. And that's delegation. So your job is to figure out what you're good at, stay in your lane, and if you're a CEO, you're good at seeing the 30,000-foot view of your company. And you could hire really great, talented people, but if they're in the wrong seat, then you're not efficient and you're not operating properly. And then, of course, it's systems and processes as part of making those good decisions. When you have your systems and processes together and you understand yourself really well and you understand how all the inner workings of the company work, that makes delegation a lot easier because you have confidence when you're delegating. There's nothing worse than a feeling like I'm going to delegate this task to somebody and I hope to God they can do this or they can get it right. That's the situation you want to avoid.
100%, Gary. I think you remind me a very famous quote from Steve Jobs where he said, we hire intelligent people to help us to do the job, not the other way around. Few elements in terms of the delegation that actually brings probably, I would say, the fear of losing control in companies. So most of the leaders are either looking for excuses, and one of the excuses we put in place is actually perfectionism in a way, because all what we're trying to say every time, not to lose the control, we're trying to elevate the standard and the quality. Any view on that one?
Yeah, the key word there was control. I have consulted for companies which were startups, then we grew it in 3 years' time to a sizable value. I was the chief operating officer, but the CEO used to spend 3 months in US, 6 months in India, 3 months in Japan. So he became nervous, saying, I'm losing control. Dr. Harish is managing everything. So control is the key. If you fear that you will lose control, then you will never delegate anything to anyone. So find the right people and delegate all your functions to the right manpower in your organization.
I just want to add a point to that as well. When you're delegating as well, I think they already brought it up as the factor of trust. If you're starting to scale and hire people, you have to hire people that you trust and that they share the vision with you so that you can delegate those tasks to them and make sure that they are successful, right? Very simple, basic example would be if you tell someone to go out, let's say in Dubai, find me the best, I don't know, best dinner place. You're going to trust that they're going to do the research and do that. You're not going to tell them, oh, do it this way, that way. So you need to also make sure you have the trust that you know they have the skills to do what you're asking them to do and what the company needs to move forward.
Yeah, I always love the word control because in my personal opinion, I don't think we control anything. Control's an illusion. And I think when you realize that we just manage things and we manage chaos because none of us can predict the future. We can't tell what's going to happen on a Monday morning that could ruin your week or make your day. So we just don't really control anything. So that's why systems are important. And people, as you mentioned, that you trust can take a situation, perhaps a good one or a bad one, and they can be the leader. So you want to, again, get back to hiring good people and putting them in the right place, and you want people who can lead in certain areas. So you have this feeling that you're managing things the best they can be. But I believe that control's an illusion. And once you really embrace that idea, delegation, for me anyways, was a lot easier because I just can't do it all alone. And I've also realized I don't do it the best. So you just figure out what areas can go wrong or right and find the right person and make sure they're there. And that's our job. That's our direct reports. That's our 30,000-foot view, is to get those right people in the right seats, or as they say in Peter Drucker's book, get the people in the right seat on the bus. And then you have as much control as you possibly can over any given situation.
100% there, Gary. I think the right word is illusion. And I have a good news for you. Actually, you're flying blind when you start scaling up your business. When you have 200 people, there is no way you're going to be able to control anything. So the only thing you could hope for is actually you're building the next generation of leaders that can take the right decision without you being there.
I just wanted to add one point as well. He mentioned that he's not the best at everything. So your intention is also to hire people that are better than you, so you know they can reach that goal. And if you keep that control, you're actually making it so they can't reach their potential as far as what they can do and what they can do for you and your company. So if you hire the best and have the control, you're not going to grow. You're actually going to ward people away from your company. So
I think one of the other issues that probably the majority of the leaders and the founders when it comes to delegating is probably self-identity, because in a way, instead of, I would say, losing the control, is also you're losing your identity in a way, because you've been your entire life probably, and all your career was built on being the person who's solving the problems, who's fixing, who's looking to every single details. Now you have actually to assign those jobs and then let someone do the job for you. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah. I keep going back to my own personal history. And, when I was a one-person, two-person, three-person, four-person company, and I was working on the business, or working in the business and not on the business. And then I finally kept hearing, you got to be working on the business. And that transition was really hard for me. But my God, what a relief. I could enjoy my business for the first time. And if we're not having fun, then what's the point? What are we doing? There's so many other things we could do. We're all so talented that we could be doing other things that we enjoy. But you really can't enjoy your own business until you're working on the business and you relieve that stress. And when you relieve that stress, you release your creativity. And when you release your creativity, it gets super fun at that point. And and then everybody benefits, from all the employees to yourself to your family, for everybody. So letting go, which is part of the topic, and releasing yourself of those burdens. And there's fear involved in that. You fear that if you do that, something will happen. But when you do that, something does happen. And 9 times out of 10, it's really amazing. And then there's just no better feeling than that, at least from my personal experience.
I just want to share one more example from my client base. The company's name is 6D Technologies. Now they have an office but when they came to me, they were cash negative. And they said, bail us out. So one of the problems I found is there were egos clashing, 5 founders, egos clashing, all friends. And power was not being rotated. People were assuming they were in some silos. So one of the things I did is, you guys, every year, change your role. Somebody else becomes the CEO. But the functional role will remain the same. Title changes. They have become 100 million this year. Unfortunately, he couldn't join me for this conference because his mother had a fall. But it's a great story when founders feel they are at level, all of them, and they are able to delegate work to everyone within the organization grows.
Thank you very much. On a personal level as well, I remember in 2014, put my own business. I had a production facility in Casablanca in Morocco, and I was originally involved in every single aspect of the production. It was absolutely exhausting and also fatigue in terms of the decision making. My business started thriving at the minute I put team leaders in every single function and elevated the conversation for them to they also be the owner decision in terms of making decision for their own department. And I was, as Gary mentioned, purely focusing on the business for me, which is really looking for customers and bringing more orders to the factory. So that was also an eye-opening for me. Another example, when I worked in Singapore, and I had also a couple of hubs around the world, and for me it did make a difference when I have my regional managers. I had 4, one in Taiwan, one in Vietnam, one in India, and the other one was in China. And in all the regional managers started lifting up into the terms of the decision making. That actually made my life a lot easier as a head of supply chain for one of the biggest organizations in the US.
As far as delegation and these topics, one thing I want to bring up as well is going back to kind of the vision. I think you can still hold on to that vision because that's the guiding light for your company, right? But as far as the delegation, again, going back, you bring people in for new perspectives. So you also need to realize that as you scale and as you change, the markets change, the teams change, the perspectives that come in change. So even that product that you had built this year or last year, in a couple of years, it's not going to be the same. It may not be the same. It's still going to have the same vision, but the way you built it or designed it may be completely different. And as long as you hold on to that vision and your mission, it should be okay for you because you realize that you have the talented team and that it's shifting and adopting to the new markets and the new places that your company is going as well. So.
Thank you, Matthew. Gary, quick question for you. What does it do actually in terms of the culture of the organization?
The culture? Yeah, I said in another panel that if you don't have people, you don't have a company. And so that's really your core, and your culture is your core value. And you develop that either you could do that naturally if that happens to be the way you are, and so that comes easy for some people, or there are systematic ways of obtaining the same thing. It just depends on your personality, but you need to realize that you either are or not a culture person, and if you're not a culture person, you need to find somebody to lead that part of the company. So, that's really important. And it's not just the culture in your company. I believe you develop culture in your clients as well. And, there are times that you should fire clients just like you fire employees because they don't fit your culture, because they cause undue stress on your company. So I always look at culture from both sides. My culture should be affecting the employees, and it should be affecting our choices in the kind of work that we want to do. And it always pays off 100%. So I see it as a really big thing. And sometimes it's so large. When your company gets big enough, I don't know if you want to call it your HR department, or there are lots of other fancy names for that, but somebody needs to be the guardian of the culture and make sure that, you're still pointed at that North Star. Because we can get so distracted by shiny things or employee drama or your own drama or something like that. But what can pull you through all of it is your culture, because it's the North Star.
Yeah, culture is a very important. I can share my experience with Tatas. We had, in addition to administrative head, functional head, a mentor in the organization. Every employee was assigned to a mentor. The job of the mentor is to communicate the company value and culture to the youngsters who are coming up. So that's a very, very important point.
So another thing I've seen in organizations that actually work very well is shadowing, to make sure that you see the perspectives, right? And a lot of times organizations put this in for, let's say, the juniors or the mid-level people that want to see how seniors work, but I think it should work the other way as well. As founders, seniors, you don't know what's going on the ground as far as the work being done, and sometimes I'm sure you've experienced in organizations where people get frustrated because they want to do something, but the founders are saying something different, that's completely against what's happening currently in the organization, on the ground, in the market. So I think it's important that as startups and companies, we implement this two-way road as far as shadowing. The CEO should see what's happening to their lower level people as well as the other way around. So.
Yeah, I think I believe also on that one, Matt. And that's also a very good segue for my next question, which is, does delegation exclude verification? Any volunteer? Matt?
Could you repeat it? Could you repeat it?
I'm asking whether delegation does exclude verification.
Wow, I'm not sure how to process that, really, to be honest. But I would say no. I would say absolutely not. Verification is just as important as almost anything else. You don't know what you have until you verify it, and you don't appreciate what you have until it's verified. It's kind of like if you go do a job for somebody for free, they don't appreciate you, but if they pay you, then that job has value. And within a company, if you don't verify that that person did their job and did it well, and you don't give them that feedback, then that job has no value. So that's really so important. And so, we do one-to-ones once a month. And the one-to-ones consist of, how are you? How's the family? And tell me about work and the challenges that you're having, and what can we do to help, and stuff like that. And that's all verification. And that's part of the culture. And that lets people feel like they're in a trusted environment, and that unlocks their creativity. And so verification done right does nothing but elevate the whole corporation.
It just reminded me of one point. There was a boy who came from Unisys, USA, when I was a group manager in Tata's. And he was working with my group for 3 months. Annual assessment came. So as usual, I have a style of assessing. And so I gave him 4. And in Tatas, we have an open culture. If you don't agree with the assessment your boss did, you can go back and discuss with him. So he came to me and said, Dr. Harish, 4 is not okay. I told him why. He said, I got 5 in Unisys in Chicago last 3 years. Nobody gave me less than that. So I said, you are now working with Dr. Harish, not with Unisys in Chicago. So he said, can you explain? I told him, if you can take my chair today, I'm willing to give you 5. If you tell me you are not ready to take my chair, you get only 4. So he told me, oh, you opened my eyes. So I said, I have delegated a job to you to take my chair next year. What will happen to you? I said, I will go somewhere. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. So I just got reminded that boy took my chair. I became the group head again.
Actually, I just want to add to his point too. If you delegate and let people do the work that they're good at, they also have a chance to grow, right? I had an experience as well, like early in my career, that I wanted to learn about product management. The product manager at that time said, okay, like I will help you go through it. And so they helped me learn how to run the like development sprints and prioritize tasks and like the whole process. After a couple months, she realized, you know what, you're actually very good at it. So for the rest of my time at that job, which was about 2 years, I was basically the product manager unofficially. So it really helped me get perspective as well from like all different angles, like the developer side, the product manager, and at that time I was on the UX side as well. So it also allowed me to see the challenges that the developers are going directly, as well as customer success in every angle of the company. So being able to give people that growth allows them to accelerate and build their skills as well. So.
I think the lesson there, Matthew, is be careful what you wish for. From my side, I think there is 2 elements on the discussion right now. There is the ripple effect. I agree as well. So think about when you create the next generation and the pipeline of leaders, what they're going to do also on their end, create another layer of leaders. So with this, your business and your company is going to grow for sure. And the second one, when we talked about does delegation exclude verification? Definitely not, at least from my point of view as well. But what you need to do is you create the framework. You also create the KPI. And you establish touch point where you meet with your people, not for approval, but more for alignment. And I think that's probably the key element in terms of success. My next question is, you know, we have the tendency in the current society to put KPI to everything. And there is no reason why in terms of delegation we couldn't put a KPI. So any idea what are the return of investment?
I'm a little hard of hearing, so I'm going to ask you that. DPI, did you say?
KPI, key performance indicators. So we always put some numbers behind every investment.
Most of the time, yes. But there are intangibles out there. And so when it comes to your core values and, you know, and running that good company and delegating to people, sometimes numbers can be cold and they don't tell the whole story. So I'm not saying you don't keep numbers and you don't do trailing 12 indicators on various KPIs and all that kind of stuff. All that stuff is your barometer and helps you forecast and see around corners. All those sort of things are important, but they don't address the human side of how to get those KPIs. They just tell you what you're trying to achieve and what needs to be done, but they don't give you the how. So that's part of the CEO or founder's job, is to figure out the how. And what I like to do is, well, I have a rule in my company that everybody I hire has to be smarter than me. And so when I have a whole bunch of smart people and I have an idea, I'm like, I want you to look into this and I want you to teach me all about it. And that empowers them, and that brings me fresh perspective And that just energizes, those groups of people that are connected to that, and all these things. And KPIs don't do that, but they're also really, really important. I just don't want some CEOs just run their lives on KPIs and the numbers, and they think the numbers tell the story. And you can run a successful company that way, but you won't necessarily grow, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about, how do you scale? And you scale on the human side, you don't scale on the KPIs. So, my thoughts.
Actually, there are two metrics. We use it in large corporates. When we have a team of 3,000 people, 5,000 people, there is no way to assess. But for using some yardsticks, so KPA, key performance areas, are identified upfront at the beginning of the year. Then we train our people to identify KPIs, key performance indicators. So every guy has a KPA, performance area. Under that area, KPIs. So every 3 months, it used to be annual assessment, but I was a little influential in saying that assessment has to be done every 3 months. So we will then put a KPI number every 3 months and then take the summary at the end of the year to promote. So yeah, in large companies, KPAs are very important, but in a growing organization, that may be a burden, overburden, because you will be knowing the individuals by face and by how they are performing in person, actually.
I think immeasurable, or maybe there's a way to measure it as you're scaling, but you can easily see like this rate you are moving as a company. When you hire these people, are you moving faster or are you moving slower? And there's so many variables that can be taken into account, like what's happening with the product, again, the market, the team. Are you busy training? Is it going to pick up later as far as speed? So I think it's something very difficult, and I agree with Gary as well. Part of it is the energy. As a founder, you have to have the energy and energize your team, and they will work their best. They'll do their best work as long as they feel energized and feel a part of your vision as well. So.
Thank you very much, guys. I think I really agree with you on that one. I think the human side of it has no price. When we start thinking about the value that we're creating as leaders, when we start delegating to our teams, and for me particularly is also the fact that you are creating a culture. So you're moving from that angle where you're being probably an execution side of it to a culture keeper.
Yeah.
And it takes, sorry, Gary, it takes a lot of time, but at the end is really rewarding.
Yeah, if your company's in the rinse and repeat mode, where you're just trying to squeeze as much out of that product or that service that you can, then you do run by the numbers. But not when you're trying to scale, because that's the Wild West. You're just out there throwing stuff at the wall and you're seeing what sticks. And, I always say, there was a talk here about failure and how it's part of the process. Well, I'm okay with that, but fail small and fail fast. And move and keep moving forward. And that's got nothing to do with the numbers.
Very true. The next question for me is going to be about the level of tolerance that you have to have as a CEO and a leader when you start delegating, because obviously your people are not going to be doing the same thing as you are doing, not probably to your certain of your expectation in the beginning, but you have to have a certain level of tolerance as far as there is a learning and progress in terms of the development.
To answer that, I think the tolerance level, give me 1 second, sorry. You can go ahead. I'm still gathering my thoughts, so go ahead.
Well, I will take a small digression to energize and share something with the crowd. Can we all say Om? Little more longer time. Oh. You should feel energized. It is coming from a place called Nabhi, your navel. Go in, energy comes to the head. Actually. So whenever you feel tired or you feel you have not delegated much, say Om, so that it comes to your head. You can delegate, saying, yes, I should delegate this. Number 2 is I want to share, for the benefit of those, in spite of all this tiring 3 days, those who are here, 2 things. One is, what is a logo? A logo is a symbol of value of an organization in terms of business. But logo can be looked at in terms of mathematics also. I have a little bit math background. So in mathematics, we call a logo a fractal. Fractal you will see everywhere in nature. A tree is a fractal. The basis of a fractal is small is repeated many times to form a large. If you see, there is a root, branch, 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 branch. On top tree trunk, branch, branch, branch. Leaf is repeated. So in a logo, a good logo, you should have a repeat of structure. Any good logo which people remember will be a repeat of structure, number 1. Number 2 is the name of the organization should have at least 1 or 2 vowels. If I say Wipro, I and O, many of the names of the organization, if you see, Ta, they are all having vowels. Just wanted to share it as a offset. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. While Matthew is still gathering the thought about the question, I think through probably the moment of leadership, and you met a lot of great people during the journey, one of the best definition I came through is about probably putting the dream in the heart of your team and let them implement it. When you think about it, actually, you change the whole perception about the tolerance level. And you don't look at it whether they are doing the same thing the way you're expecting it, but you start looking at it from, does it really bring the same outcome? If the answer is yes, then you have your answer. And in the second element to look at it, does it sit within the standards of values and quality? Then if the answer is yes, then your tolerance level grows up.
Yeah, I just want to say, I went on this metaphysical journey over here. I forgot what we were talking about or even why we were here, and now I'm worried about my logo. And so I hope you'll tolerate that. But for me, tolerance is about fun. And tolerance is about possible futures. You don't know which one it's going to be and how exciting. It's like opening gifts at Christmas. And, some will be a little less disappointing and one of them will be magic. But it's Christmas. It's all good. So when you're expanding and you're growing, and that's the topic, it's not running the company, but we're trying to grow, we're trying to expand, we're trying to delegate. It's got to be fun or it's just not going to work. Probably my last statement, my final statement is that let's have fun.
All right, we're getting to the end of our session. So before we open the forum to questions from the audience, I want to ask any of the members of the panel here to give one last statement or leave the audience with one advice if you can.
My last statement is kindly celebrate life, which is what I do every day. When I get up, I thank God for one more day. When I sleep, I said, thank you, God, for giving this wonderful day.
Gary, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Every morning when I wake up before my feet hit the ground, I say to myself, Gary, you're unemployed. So you better make something happen. And I've been doing that for about 25 years. And so far it's working. I felt unemployed this morning, but I feel more fulfilled today after the panel.
I would say that also just to always be open to new perspectives, and listen to people. Listen first and then act after. It doesn't matter what age or how much experience they have. People coming out of university, college, schools, they have a new perspective that you didn't live through, or new challenges that they're facing. So just listen to those. And I think also on Gary's point about having fun, I wanted to drop like 2 books that I recommend. One is called Joy Inc. I think this is about building a business that lets people have fun. It's a company in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The founder wrote the book. It's very interesting on how he runs his company to make it so everybody enjoys working at the company and thrives for the same mission. And the second one is It's Your Ship by Captain D. Michael, and I forgot his last name, but this is also a very good book on how to not only let go and delegate, but also manage people and, if needed, break the rules. So.
Thank you, guys. Very well said. From my side, I think I'm going to leave with the audience with one single word, which is gratitude. I think we should be grateful for everything that we actually encounter in our life, whether it's people, work, whatever it is. But that's, for me, actually one of the best words that I want to leave this room with is gratitude. Thank you, guys, for everything. Thank you for listening to us. I want to open the forum to questions. So please, if anyone has a question, get close to the microphone, and we'll try to answer the question. And if we don't have the answer right now, we'll probably spend some time getting it to you.
Hi, good evening, and I think wonderful insights to all of you, all the panelists. So myself, Babita Remit, and I'm from Bangalore, India. And I've been an entrepreneur since 2 years, and I've run a company called Sapiens Minds. And we are into fractional CHRO services for startup and small, medium companies. And I've been a HR professional for more than 2 decades in IT corporate sector before my entrepreneur journey. So my question here is, being a HR and being a leadership mentor during my corporate as well as my journey now, I know delegating is very important, and to convince the new clients, I know when they are in a startup and scaling organization, they have a hesitance to delegate the HR activities to the consultant. The reason is they feel that they can do it all. It's just about payroll and recruitment. But I think HR is more than what it is. I think I heard about what Gary is mentioning about the culture and having that organization in terms of engagement and retention. I do understand as a professional. Now, how do I convince my clients that delegation is very key while they're scaling, and HR is so important for their organization at the beginning? So when we are actually able to offer at a fractional level, why the founders are finding it so difficult? So the other side of the question, so how do I convert them to make it more possible to delegate that so that I can work for them? So any insights I think would be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so again, a little hard of hearing. I think I heard 40% of that, but I'm going to answer the question anyways. I heard HR, and I have a thing about HR. I think it's the domain of the CEO. So many CEOs are like, now I don't have to deal with all these people, I have HR. But that's where your culture is. And I think that's a big mistake. And so if I heard you correctly, you're trying to, I don't know if you perform HR functions or something like that, but if you can tell the founder and the CEO that that's his way to make his mark on the company, that's his way to create the culture, that's her way to create fun in the workplace, that's her way of hanging on to good employees and all the things that are associated with HR. I think you can get some acceptance there. And I hope, I didn't hear everything, but I hope I answered the question.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any more questions? Yeah, there is one more.
Hi, my name is Usman. I'm a physician. I have my own practice in the United States. So I had a question for you guys. There's a lot of factors that go into delegating and scaling. What is the single one most important factor that you would say, yeah, this is what tops them all as far as why I would delegate to person A versus person B in your company?
I would think about the fact that a lot of people don't delegate it because they are thinking they're going to get obsolete. That's probably the primary factor in most of the organization why people are refusing to delegate, because they have the feeling that if they delegate and then the team start performing or without them, they start asking actually what is their value in the company. But if they understand that their value of the company is actually creating the next generation and the pipeline of leaders, it changed the whole perception. So for me, the fact of not willing to delegate in companies is actually linked to the mindset. What are you trying to achieve? What's your purpose in the organization?
My question was, what's the most important characteristic you look for when you delegate to somebody?
I think that almost every position, regardless of where it is in the company, is about sales. So who's going to represent your company the best in that interaction, whatever it is? And who's going to put the best face of the company out there? And that's the person I would choose.
Yeah, and I just add to that point is I would say the 2 points is one, the person you trust, and two, the one that shares your vision the most. So
I think I saw Yusuf. Yeah?
I think I might have become famous for asking lots of questions.
I remember your voice.
I
So,
appreciate that. My question was very much along the same lines as the previous question, and what my question now is if you were looking to promote internally or if you were looking to hire externally for key positions inside of your companies, what are the most important attributes that you're looking for to bring these people in?
I got to answer this one. It's behavior. Everything is about behavior. And that's why it's so hard to hire people, because resumes look good and people become professional. You can learn how to resume or how to interview online on YouTube. So we do behavioral testing, and that's just scratching the surface of somebody's behavior. And then you've got to put them in positions where you can, when you watch them execute, and you can see what their behavior is like. And again, it's that old adage of hire slow, fire fast. That's one of the tenets of owning a business. But you're looking for behavior. Sometimes you could hire a great talent, and then they become, the worst thing that you ever did because they sour the whole culture. So behavior's the answer.
I agree, Yusuf, on that one. I think for me, it's the dilemma. I like to, when I'm talking about recruitment and in general, the culture is linked to the sports side of it. So the analogy, I'm a big fan and I'm a coach also in terms of soccer, is the question, are you wanting to win a game or you want to win the league? If you want to win the game, you probably hire the best striker. Even the behavior is not there yet. But if you want to win the league and have that harmony and culture within the organization, you'll probably hire someone whose behavior is actually fit within the culture of the team you're trying to build.
Incredible. Thank you very much.
So I have a really small question here. I think this question is, directed towards Gary. So over here, in small organizations, sometimes, we have to grow organizations very quickly. We need to scale up our organizations. In that moment, sometimes doing the job yourself is much more faster than delegating. So what is, the important factor which lets me decide, do I scale it myself or do I delegate to somebody else? What is, the trigger condition which lets me decide, do I do it myself or do I delegate it?
Well, I decided to open a sales office here in Dubai. And I thought, how do I even know how to hire a salesperson here? And I got some advice from my Vistage group. A good friend of mine in that group said, go live in Dubai for a month. Test those waters. Just show up. Get in a hotel. And then wake up the next morning thinking, how am I going to do this? And experience it. And I did that. And by the end of the 30 days, I knew who to hire. So you need people. When you say you're going to do it yourself, then you're putting yourself in an echo chamber. And again, you're not doing the job of the CEO. You're supposed to be working on not in the business, but on the business. because you're not going to scale that way if you're doing it yourself. So don't do it yourself. You're going to have to hire people, but you got to do some of that exploratory stuff on your own so that you can make a good decision.
Thank you so much.
Do we have the last question? Yes.
Thanks for those lovely insights. I just want to ask the panel, they always say systems work, individuals don't. And for scaling, systems become very important. So do we have, the knowledgeable panel, can you throw a light on this importance of system, even in system of delegation? Yeah.
For delegation, I won't say there is any system, but you are right. I believe I have lived and maybe pass out using systems theory. For everything, there is a system. So in large organizations, we follow what is called as the process. Let us take IBM, for example. They have the blue book, red book, blah, blah, blah. In Satyam, we had the Bible, by which everyone has to follow. I will give you an example how it works, the process and the system. One day I went to the chairman, I told him, sir, my vertical business, the mechanical vertical, manufacturing vertical has taken over. It's my client. I should own that business. So he told me, Dr. Harish, can you go through the rule book and tell me which rule has to be changed? Because I find some inadequacy. And I said, man, because he is not an educated man. So large organizations, process, system, is very important. But in a growing organization, till you get to critical mass, they are not important. As Gary said, it's passion, motivation, drive. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah. But Harish, still I would strongly say that without system, without process, again there will be a lot of chaos and mess. Because everybody acting as per their thing, as Gary was talking about culture, also in a way is nothing but the way the behavior aspect of people, how they are supposed to behave.
Okay, initially serious answer, then little diverted answer. So serious answer is, in a startup, till you get to critical mass, you cannot enforce process. They will go at 5 o'clock home without delivering what they are supposed to do. You leave it to them. They may go for a movie, come back at 7 o'clock, and work till 12 o'clock, deliver and go home. So in a small organizations, processes really don't work. Now the aside part is chaos can be of two types. I'm a mathematician, basically trained as a mathematician. So chaos can be deterministic chaos or stochastic chaos. What you see in the clouds is a stochastic chaos. What you see in the nature, like river, tree, those are deterministic chaos. When you pluck a string in the guitar, it will vibrate chaotically. And it has two levels of chaos, but deterministic. It will always go back to the same two levels. So maybe a chaos deterministic in a startup is good, actually.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Any more questions? No more questions. So we're wrapping up this. That's it.
That's it. Thank you, guys. I would like to take the opportunity to thank my panelist members. Gary, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for
Matthew,
being the
thank you.
moderator. Thank God for you.
Thank you, Matthew, for sharing your insight. And Dr. Harish, thank you for being with us. Thank you, audience. Thank you, guys, for your support and your questions.
Round of applause for our
Have a lovely
panelists.
evening.